Hello, everyone. Do you want me to do my intro, Dave?
Yes, go for it, Chase.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Chase Diver. I'm an Air Force veteran transitioning into software engineering. I'm one of the main front-end developers for this group project, and I like making websites look nice.
Hey everyone, my name is Yen. I'm a military spouse and a mother. I used to work as an interpreter and now transitioning to become a software engineer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Erb. I'm a recently retired Navy veteran and a proud Navy spouse, and I'm transitioning to software engineering.
I'm Michelle, now a full stack engineer. I just got out of the Marine Corps after 10 years being a pilot.
And I'm Dave Hitchens. I'm currently in the process of retiring from the Air Force after 20 years. I'm transitioning to being a dad. So I also need to transition to a good paying software engineering job. And I'll kick things off with an introduction to our project. So our group project is called Tinder Tots because when we jokingly said the name out loud, it just stuck and then wouldn't unstick. But as you'll see in a moment, it actually does make a lot of sense for what the app is. It originally started as my own individual project. As my wife and I are having our first child this July, and we've been struggling to come up with a name. Well, really, she's been coming up with names and then struggling to get me to do the same. So I was able to get a short reprieve by promising her that I would make a web app to help us pick a name for our child. And so here we are. And for my personal project, while I did get most of the functionality done, there was still a lot left on the table, and design-wise, it really didn't match what I saw in my head. But some of the other students liked my idea, my team members, and decided to adopt it as our group project and run with it. So we did a completely clean sheet rewrite of everything from the ground up. So there's no shared code. And by clean sheet, I mean, we started with Excalidraw and kind of went from there. So in the first couple of days, we didn't even code anything at all. We just went through, created a design brief, spent a lot of time looking at our database schema and making sure that we could do everything we wanted and bake in some features for functionality for future features. We made some initial design templates and then kind of some of the logic of how we wanted things to go from the back end to the front end and vice versa, and some of the how that data flows. And then we got down to it after a week or so of programming. We kind of did a progress check and rehashed our templates based on the current direction we were going and some of the problems that we found, and ended up creating, these design templates, which is very close to what the site actually looks like for our MVP. So without further ado, let's get since I'm screen sharing, I'll run through the process of how it all works, while my other team members will talk to what I'm doing and provide some background on what's happening behind the scenes. So I guess first I should say, we have two windows here since we're going to have two users. One is set up in desktop mode and the other is set up in mobile mode because our app is responsive for both desktop and mobile. So Dan, over to you for user authentication.
All right. So as Dave said, he's going to multitask here and have two browsers at the same time. So he's going to use the sign up form to create a couple of new users so we can demonstrate the app. On the back end, where I did most of my work for this project, we're using the Django framework with the abstract user model to make the user authentication process pretty seamless, and as well as all of our custom views and custom models to work with our Postgres database that we're using to host all of this data. As you can see on the left, he's got one user logged in already, Francisco. And in a moment here, it looks like the other user is Nick Ola. They definitely don't have any relationship to our instructors, so don't mind that. When you first log in, as a user, you're gonna land on the profile page here. And you basically, the whole point of the app is to pick a name for the baby. So the first thing you really got to do is add a child. And in doing that, I'm going to pass it off to Chase. He's going to talk a little bit more about our front-end design choice.
Yeah, so For our group project, we chose to use Tailwind CSS over Bootstrap due to several reasons. But one key advantage of Tailwind CSS is its utility-first approach. With Tailwind CSS, you have access to a vast array of small single-purpose utility classes that you can apply to your HTML elements directly. In contrast, Bootstrap provides a set of pre-designed components that might be more restrictive and less flexible when it comes to customizing the look and feel of your project. We also use Flowbite. Flowbite has a Tailwind component library, which helps speed up front-end development. With that said, I'll pass off the baton to Dan so he can explain some more functionality for our website.
As you can see, Dave created a new child with the nickname Code Baby. So Dave, why don't you click on the child card there? So this is the child profile layout, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the CRUDing options that we have in the application. So from this, you can click on Edit Child and do all sorts of updates, right? So you can add a second parent, which is really crucial to the best experience of our app. You can add a last name if you want, a due date if you happen to have it, or if you need to change it, you can edit all these things. And of course, if you just want to start over, you can delete the child in general. Now, a big part of our app is obviously picking the names, and it's actually one of the coolest parts of the apps. And we do that with the special swipe name function. For that, Yen will dive in for you.
So when we move to the swipe names page, you will notice that we will have a stack of names. And this is what we have on the page when we have an API call to retrieve a stack of 100 names and display as a card. What we use to make the swipe card smooth is a component in React. And for each swipe, it will have a string indicator direction. And that is how the information is sent to the back end to do the vote. To make sure that the user experience is good, we also include the button to make sure that if the swipe doesn't work well on mouse in the browser, the users still have an option to vote. The other things you notice here is the add name function. It is for when the user doesn't see the name that they already have in mind, they can manually add it to the favorite list. So it will be automatically create as a vote for the name they just created. So this is mostly what I stand for. Next, Dave will give you more info about the child profile after you already vote a few names.
All right, so back on the child profile, now that we've swiped on some names and liked and disliked them, you can see it's populated these lists with liked, disliked, and since we've done it for both accounts now, any names that are common on the like list will appear on the agreed name list. So you can see they are the same between the two different parents. And then there are other name apps that kind of do similar things to this that we found. However, their functionality kind of stops at this point. One thing that we did that we haven't actually seen anywhere else, and I think ultimately makes it a more useful program, is the next part, which is where we rank names, and I'll turn that over to Mickey.
All right, going into the ranked names, we're literally looking at that agreed upon list. But when each parent goes into this ranked choices page, they get given two cards. So as opposed to just going down and swiping on the individual names, now we're looking back to back. It gives you a different look at the names and a different look at which one you actually like better in any given situation. Below the two cards, which are just pulling random names from the list, and it'll keep recycling through them just at a random interval. It's going to give you the list of all those ranked names with the associated weight. So every name starts out at 0 for that user. And every time it's picked, every time it wins that competition, that weight's going to increase by 1. So each time it comes back, refreshes the page, it's going to recycle that list by heaviest weighted names at the top. So each parent's going to have a separate weighted list, same names, their own individual weights attached. So this is telling you, with that back-to-back competition, how do you really feel about your list of names? And I'll turn it back over to Dave for the results of that.
All right, so once you names, then you can go to the results page, and it'll show you that based on the combined weights of both users, which name is your most favorite name. And then it'll also list the rest of your agreed names in descending order of weight. So obviously, you're not like legally beholden to name your child Benjamin now, although it is a great name. But it does kind of give you some empirical data to then sit down with your other half and have a more educated discussion about what you actually want to name your child. Another thing I'd like to point out, on the bottom of our screens here, we have a little dad joke that pops up each time you refresh the page. You get a new dad joke. It may be my single favorite feature that we have. So anyway, that's more or less the functionality of our app. And pending any questions, yeah, that's it.